Hey everybody, it's Rock DIY. Today I'm going to do a review on this heavy duty pneumatic can crusher, and I already have it put together. I do have a C-clamp on it just to keep it stationary. It's not that powerful that it's going to go flying or anything, but the C-clamp keeps it in place. So when you get this, it's not going to be assembled. So you'll have this piece here, then you'll have this piece over here, which will be separated from this. The tubing is one piece, and you have to cut it to size, even though I went with what they said as far as cutting it, and it seems like there's a little much, and it's not like it's moving or going anywhere. You do have to put these fittings on for connecting the air lines. The most important thing about using this heavy duty pneumatic can crusher is you do have to have an air compressor, and your air compressor must be between 90 and 110 psi. This line right here is to my air compressor. I have it set up like this. Not sure, I haven't finalized on how exactly I want to set this up, but the main reason why we got this is because we save a lot of cans. We put them in trash cans, and if we don't crush them, then they take up a whole lot of room. And so we started using a ground tamp or tamper to crush cans. And if you get a whole lot of cans, that can be a whole lot of work. Crushing the cans takes up a whole lot less room, so that's why we started using the tamper. I think this is going to help in the long run. It's not going to be as labor intensive. This is very easy to put together. These are the instructions. It's basically 2 pages, not a lot of detail. As far as operating this, it can be set up horizontally, vertically, however you choose to install it. There are some screw holes down in here so that you can mount it. Unfortunately, this is the only portion of it that has holes for it to be mounted. The actual pneumatic portion of it doesn't have anything that allows you to mount it on anything, but it's not like it's really going to go anywhere anyways, because all the pressure crushing the cans is exerted downwards, and you get these Allen bolts in here that keep it all together anyway. I have it set up like this because there's a hole right here and I've got a bucket down there, so as the cans get crushed, the can will fall into the bucket. If you put it up on a wall, you would have to find a way to get it to be able to fall out the backside. You have to be pushing this button in order for the piston to come out and crush the can, but I wouldn't want to be putting my hands in here every time a can gets crushed. And just to show, you do have to, you can push and hold the button and it'll hold the piston all the way out. And then as soon as you let go of the button, it pulls back in. Also control how far you want it to push. Best when you're crushing the can, the best thing is just push it all the way down. This is adjustable, but it's only adjustable for about 1 inch. So you can spin it out and then lock your nut down. Just as an example, I'm going to crush all these different types of cans, and these are steel cans and then aluminum cans. These two are 12-ounce cans. This is a 12-ounce can. This is a 16-ounce, 16-ounce, and 24-ounce. And before I even try it, well, I'll start with this. This one right here is way too big. Either way, even if I adjust this, this can will not go in. It fits side to side, but trying to get it in there doesn't fit. With the cans that the can opener is used to open, these will have to go in upside down in order to properly crush them. Obviously, if you go this way, you're not going to be crushing the can. This is an aluminum can crusher, not necessarily meant for other metals, but this right here is a pretty standard size 16-ounce metal or steel can. And unfortunately with these, when you put them in, it catches the top of the can right here. It'll still crush it, but it does catch right there and kind of mangle it up. That's about as much as you're going to get out of it. Then there's these cans, a typical tuna can, and this is a 5-ounce can, but unfortunately it's just way too wide to go in there. Could attempt to crush it sideways. See what happens. And it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. That right there was an example of why you don't put cans in there that shouldn't go in there. Best way to get these 24-ounce cans through are twist them. Twist it to make it smaller and then crush it. So I did just get this can crusher, trying to get acquainted with it, seeing what I can and can't put through it, and what modifications or adjustments that I can make. This right here and this, all these cans were the cans that filled this entire trash can right here. So you can see why compacting them gives you a whole lot more room. And that's what it's going to reduce down to. I'm not going to put these in that trash can. I'll put them in another trash can. Being that this is my first day using it, I started using it right after I assembled it. It's great that it works right out of the box, no issues. Instructions are kind of simple and they don't need to be too complicated anyway. Pretty easy to follow. And like I said, because this is my first day using it, I don't want to make any modifications, changes, or anything to it. I do see some things right away that I think need to be revised, because although it does say that it's a aluminum can crusher, you can see in the video that it also does crush steel cans. The only thing is, the steel cans, typically the 16-ounce steel cans, catch this edge and they become mangled. If I was to do anything, I would probably fabricate my own frame similar to this, but push this lip out, and probably these, I would probably push the whole thing out about a 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch, just to give room for more variety of sizes as far as fitting in here. The good thing about this button is the press head doesn't move if you don't continually push the button. So if you press the button in and let go, this is going to stop and retract. So I don't know if that's intentionally a safety feature, but it possibly could be. Don't like that this sits so flat up against the frame. If anything, I would add maybe a box behind this, or I would just put this completely somewhere else, not even on the frame box, because as you can see how tight the fitting is for putting the air compressor on there. Just for reference, this is the air compressor that I am using with the can crusher. This is a 6-gallon 150 psi air compressor by Porter cable. You can adjust it up, down. You can also connect multiple hoses to it, and it is generally maintenance free. I know there's a lot of newer ones of these, variations to it. I've had this one for 8 years and I've had no problems with it whatsoever. An issue that I see already after only having used this one day, probably crushed less than 100 cans, but one of the things I notice is that each of these pieces, this is one piece right here, that piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece, they're all separate pieces that were welded together. There's some strong welding points. There's one there, one there. The concern that I have is that if anything should have been one continuous piece, I would have thought that this piece would have continued around. That way there was no breaks, and this would be more of a solid piece, you know, just basically bend it into shape. But in this case, they put this piece in here and then welded it on the sides. And in a lot of cases, welding is pretty strong, but I can see a lot of gaps on both sides. I can actually see some cracking down inside. There's a long crack, and then on the other side is another long crack right here. Another thing I can see is that this piece is already bent. So this probably could have been reinforced some, because like I said, I've only crushed less than 100 cans, and this is already bent. This isn't a bad buy for $89. Pretty quick and simple to put together. There are some concerns, but I think it'll do the job. Not a bad purchase for $89.